Now time for our weekly look at Britain's royal family. Queen Elizabeth is back to work this week. She carried out her first in-person royal duty since her husband, Prince Philip, passed away Friday at 99 years old. The Queen hosted a private ceremony honoring one of her former aides last night. And this comes as the royal family prepares, of course, for Prince Philip's funeral at Windsor Castle this Saturday. It'll be a small and private service. Only 30 people are expected to attend because of course, COVID restrictions. So BBC News royal correspondent Sarah Campbell is with me now to talk a little bit more about all of this. So thank you so much. It's been quite a while since I've seen you. The Queen, to my surprise, conducted her first royal duty since the passing of her husband. I did not expect this so soon. I thought she was going to be sort of away from the public for a while. So how is this sort of an indication that she's starting things back up again with her typical engagements, or is this sort of a one-off, I guess, event because of the person who it appears is somebody who would have been particularly close to her?
Well, good morning to you. Do you know what? This is the Queen we're talking about. And I think what this emphasises is that she's been on the throne for 69 years and she's always put public and service and duty above all else. And I think this is true now, as it always has been. I mean, you imagine that her husband's death was announced around about midday UK time on Friday. During that day, she then spent the afternoon looking through the funeral plans, because, of course, there have been funeral plans set in place for years for such an important public figure in this country. But because of the COVID pandemic, lots of those plans have had to change. So they had to be approved by Her Majesty the Queen. That was announced on Saturday. And as you say, yes, we had that she did the first engagement. It was an audience at Windsor Castle, where, of course, she's been shielding for the last year or so. It was for her household's most senior official, his retirement, so the former Lord Chamberlain, Earl Peel. And as I say, the royal family are in a period of mourning that will carry on for 2 weeks. What that means is that they can carry out engagements, but they have to be appropriate engagements. And I'm sure that if somebody had said, or if the Queen decided, actually, do you know what, I'd like to postpone this, then that would have been absolutely done, no problem. But that's the kind of person the Queen is. She just gets on with the job. I think that's really what this tells us.
Yes. Yes, duty. How is the royal family supporting her?
Well, she was visited over the weekend by all 4 of her children. So first of all, by the Prince of Wales, obviously her eldest son, and all of them have left sort of very heartfelt tributes. All have been to them. Sophie, the Countess of Wessex, said the Queen had been amazing. Prince Andrew said that she was stoic, but of course the loss of Prince Philip had left a huge void in her life. And of course there have been tributes left by her grandchildren as well. So 4 children, 8 grandchildren. Really nice tributes. First of all, from Prince William, who said, my grandfather was an extraordinary man. They'll do all they can to support the Queen. And Prince Harry said, my grandfather, a man of service, honour and great humour. He was my grandpa, master of the barbecue, legend of banter and cheeky right till the end. So all of them have been rallying round. And the comments that we heard at the weekend from the family is that all the tributes that have been left at the various royal palaces, and obviously the tributes from around the world, the presidents, the prime ministers, I think have really meant a lot to them, the realisation of how much Prince Philip meant to a lot of people around the world.
And that was going to be my next question about, what the reaction has been like in the UK and around the world to his passing.
Yeah, it's been extraordinary. I mean, I was down at Buckingham Palace on Friday and there were hundreds of people passing by. It's been quite difficult because, of course, of the pandemic. So lots of things have had to change to stop encouraging crowds. So normally when a royal death has happened, a notice will be placed on the railings of Buckingham Palace and will be left there for a day. But it was put there, as is tradition, taken away after an hour because they don't want to do anything to try and encourage crowds. But even so, even though the message has gone out, please don't go to Windsor Castle, please don't go to Buckingham Palace, people have just wanted to leave tributes, floral tributes. I've seen naval hats placed, glasses of port, all sorts of things, because he met a lot of people over the years, but even those people that he didn't meet in person, maybe people who took part in the Duke of Edinburgh's award schemes, something like 7 million young people across the world have done that. And of course, so those are tributes from normal people, but as I say, tributes from presidents, from prime ministers, from world leaders across the globe, really emphasising that for the last 7 decades, Prince Philip has been a figure not just in British life, but across the world.
And of course, Prince Harry is back in the UK to attend his grandfather's funeral. This is the first time he's returned since his and Meghan's interview with Oprah Winfrey. Quite a bombshell interview. There were allegations of racism within the royal family. Do you have any insight into, how he was welcomed back, who he has met with, and whether or not, there's hope that if there were any sort of fissures created, that that this might be an opportunity to mend some of the relationships?
Well, I think certainly that would be the hope, that a funeral, the death of somebody who was so close to both Prince William and Prince Harry and the rest of the family, that will bring people together at a time like this. As you say, Harry came across at the weekend. He flew in from California. Meghan is heavily pregnant, so she was advised by her doctors not to travel, which is why he's here. Now, he's quarantining in Frogmore Cottage, which you may remember is the house that they lived in before they went back to America. The quarantining rules means that he shouldn't be having visitors, so I suspect he hasn't had sort of physical contact with other people, but obviously he will, I'm sure, has spoken to people by phone and everything else. And what will be interesting, obviously, at the funeral on Saturday is I'm sure that whilst obviously the overwhelming thought has to be around the remembrance of the Duke, there will clearly be people watching to see how is the interaction between Harry, between William. I mean, of course, they will be having to be social distance. They will be wearing masks, but they will be taking part in a procession. How it's going to work on Saturday at 3 o'clock is that there will be a procession through the grounds of Windsor Castle, taking the coffin to the steps of St. George's Chapel. And then there will be this small private service inside St. George's Chapel, which, as you said earlier, only 30 people can attend. Under the original plans, there should have been something like 800 people. But so it will be a very small, very intimate affair, attended really by the children and by the grandchildren and by just the closest members of the family. So it is really being seen as very much a family event.
Definitely. Sarah, thank you so much.